All right, welcome Senior Owned Business to the live show. We got Brittany, we got Matt here in the house, and we're talking today about the 10 shocking mistakes that put seniors in the wrong community. Stay with us. We're going to go through 10 of these, and I guarantee you probably have heard at least one of these, but you haven't heard of all of them. And we'll get down to the very end. The 10th one just breaks my heart. So stay with us on this, but these are 10 shocking mistakes. We're going to not only tell you the mistakes, but we're going to tell you how to stop it. We're going to give you a solution. So we're not just presenting a problem today. We're going to be presenting solutions to the different problems that are coming up. But we've identified 10 in our experience. Brittany does this. If you don't know, if you're new to the audience, click subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff down below. I think, Brittany, we got some links down below they can click, and free webinar and schedule a free consultation, all that good stuff. But Brittany does this business professionally in Texas and Missouri. I do this in California. We've got students in 35 different states across the country who do this. And so this information is not just necessarily coming just from me and her, but it's coming collectively from all our students across the country. And like I said, the 10th one, stay with us, really breaks my heart. But we're going to get into, Brittany, the 10 shocking mistakes that put seniors in the wrong communities. Let's get to the first one, because no assessment of actual care needs. If you follow me for 5 minutes on this channel, you know I talk a lot about that we've got to put the care needs first. It's the 3 C's of placement. It's care, it's cost, and convenience. And oftentimes families get this flip-flop. They start going with convenience first, which I appreciate, because Brittany, it's kind of like, hey, it's my mom. I want to be close to her. And then you get to the cost, because that's the real world kind of thing. It is a cost factor, but then mom's care needs are not really looked upon with scrutiny, in terms of things like that. So, what do you do this? Why does this happen, Brittany, first of all? And then we'll get into how to stop it. Why does this happen? Number one, no assessment of actual care needs.
There's many reasons, like you said. I would say a big thing is the families don't know the care needs if the families are looking in the beginning. And then also on the flip side, the communities, some of them do different type of assessments. Some of them don't do assessments. For example, independent living, that's a big one for me. They don't do assessments. So there's really no consistent assessment of exactly where they're at. Also, a big thing is the family or the community might not understand what their daily living care needs are. Sometimes a little assessment doesn't give you the whole picture. So there's many reasons why this doesn't happen. Could be denial, could be just not knowing the situation, and then could be that community does not do assessments.
Yeah, and then how to stop it? Use a detailed care needs assessment before any tour. I think families, at least my experience, they oftentimes want to go on the tour first. Now, granted, a lot of people that I have the opportunity to place and assist and to help, they come from skilled nursing facilities. So they're more than likely at this point, they're either getting close to what we call in California a 602 physician's report, or they have some sort of documentation, or at least good idea, at least, of what mom's care needs are. But you at least want an assessment. And I think, I know California is the only one that does a 602. So the other 49 states, they need to do an assessment. And they're going to do that at the community. Now, the community is going to do that assessment before the tour sometimes. They want to make sure that, hey, you're a good fit there. And so I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I think you'll save yourself some time. But I think the average family member out there, Brittany, they just want to go on these tours. They kind of treat this like real estate. Let's just go. I know kind of what I like in a house. Let's go see 2 or 3. Let's do a walkthrough. And what are those things they call on Sundays between 1 and 5? There's little, I don't know what they call them, but they always got the little banner out there. Come visit me between 1 and 5.
Open house.
Open house. Yeah, they got an open house. And so they treat, these tours like it's an open house. And then they're going around and they're looking at these different communities and picking what they like and what they don't like. And I think that leads us to the second one is when you do that and you have that approach, you might be falling for the sales pitch. Now, this is not to bag the communities out there. Communities, I love you. I appreciate you. So if you're watching my YouTube channel, some of you follow me. I'm not saying anything negative or derogatory about you. However, I know from full experience, being a marketing director of an AL memory care community back in the day, there was an element of a sales pitch, right? And so the community obviously is going to put their best foot forward. They're going to sell their community, and you don't want to do that. So, I mean, why do you think this happens, Brittany, in terms of the sales pitch? I mean, we understand why it happens from the community to others. It's just like if you are selling a service or a product, whatever, you're going to have a sales pitch, right? When someone schedules a call with me about the Senior Placement Institute and what we're doing with TSL and everything else that we're doing in senior home business, there's an element of a sales pitch. Now, I don't outright try to sell them. I more tell, but there still can be a perceived sales pitch included in that. I think everybody kind of figures that out, expects that. You go buy a car, you're looking for a house. And the same with the senior living community, there's going to be an element of a sales pitch. But why do you think this happens?
I think a lot of it comes down to urgency and needing to find a place. The sales pitch that I hear the most is, "This is our last room." That's the most sales pitch.
Oh, yeah.
So families that I've seen that end up in the wrong community, seniors in the wrong community, usually is that exact sales pitch. A lot of the marketing directors, again, don't come after us. We love you guys, but they do tell their job is to educate them on the community. Not to backtrack, but one thing about marketing and salespeople, they're not nurses usually, and they don't do the assessment part. So they might just be pitching their community on everything they do, but they're not really tying it back to your loved one's assessment, so to say, a medical assessment. So they are just pitching what they believe in the community, what they see the benefits for your loved one. But that one sales pitch of, "It's our last room. This is, we're going to be on a wait list for 6 months after this." But that I do think a lot of families do fall for, because usually in this situation, it is urgent. There's many times where they can't wait. So they fall, if they really do lean towards one community and they say they have one room left, usually that's where they get them to move forward, even if it's not the right fit.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brittany, because I do hear that. We use that a lot in the community I used to work for. I noticed one community that they were doing that unknowingly to one of my clients. I heard about it afterwards. And the community had like 20 apartments available, but they were coming down to like, "Oh man, we only got one, maybe two left." And what they typically do, they'll kind of be realistic. So we got a couple left, but the one that you really want, that's on the corner over here near the courtyard, near the whatever, that's the only one left. And it really provides people like, "Oh man, I got to put it on deposit. I got to get a deposit. Got to put it down so mom doesn't lose that room." And so how you can stop this, guys, whether you're a family member or a senior placement agent, you should know this, but as a family member, just ask real questions that families don't typically know to ask. And that's staff ratios. Did my microphone go off? Hopefully not, because I banged into it. But ask about staff ratios. You may not get an exact answer. You might not get an answer that, is all that truthful. I mean, sometimes, again, going back to the community I used to work for, not bagging them or anything, but there was a season we went through, and I found out about this later, and I went, "What are we doing?" Brittany, we had an AL community and then a memory care side. And I found out at some point, because I was never there in the middle of the night. Obviously, I was home, my wife asleep. But come to find out, a season, a couple, 2 or 3 months, we'd only have one caregiver for both sides. That is horrible. So most people, like any other average individual, when they go on tours, they're going to these communities during the day. That's when the most activities there. That's when the executive director's there. That's when the marketing directors are there, the activity director, all the chef and everyone out, the nurse, everybody. What goes on in the evenings? What I want to know. I understand that, hey, most of the residents are asleep, but again, going back to mom's care needs, if she's one that apparently gets up in the middle of the night, she wanders, whatever. Who's there to take care of mom in the evening? So the night staff is big, fall protocol, response time, all that good stuff. And so you have to do a deep dive into this. And again, I don't think you'll get the specific answer that you might be looking for. But what I would do is look for someone's body language and how they respond to the question I ask. So here's an example. If I'm talking to a marketing director and, we're touring, and I go, "Well, can you tell me a little about your night staff? What goes on in the evening?" "Oh yeah, we've got caregivers and they do this and this. They got a schedule, all that." That's fantastic. How many caregivers do you have in the evening? Who are they? And what I would do is start looking at the body language, and she or he may not begin to understand or know exactly. Then you want to talk to somebody about that, because again, this is your loved one going into a community. And if you don't really know what's going on in the evening, I don't know. That's kind of a dicey thing. But number 3 is choosing based on location only. And I get this whole piece. I mean, families want to be close to their loved ones, and I commend you for that. That's amazing. You should love your mom, your dad, grandma, grandpa, and want to be close to them. But that should not be the only thing that you're considering. It definitely shouldn't be the thing you prioritize. So, Brittney, why do you think this happens?
All the time it happens, but the reason, so convenience for sure. This is the convenience aspect of it. I do agree with a lot of things where the more you're present, the better care your loved one gets. I do believe in that. And I do think a lot of people are busy. We are talking sandwich generation here. A lot of them have children they're raising and parents they're caring for at the same time. So they might have baseball practice, high school graduations, kid in college that has all this stuff going on that they need to be a part of, orchestra, you name it. And they also have to take care of their loved ones. So it's easier for people to swing by somewhere close for 10 minutes as opposed to doing a round trip, maybe of 30 plus minutes. However, we know that that's not always the case. It's the best for the location. As a senior placement agent, everything we're talking about, that's why it's good to know all these things and know your location, know what the communities have to provide so you can educate the family that yes, this one might be closer, but there could be a better option a little bit further away.
Absolutely. How you stop it is, man, you help families prioritize care first, right? Convenience second, like the cost factor, the 3 C's we talked about. However, when you prioritize care first, you might be willing to go 10, 15 minutes further down the road, go through an extra 4 or 5 stoplights. And, I know it's not on the way home from work and things like that, but it might be the best fit for your mom or your dad. And understand that your mom or your dad's going to be at this location, whether you're there or not. So if care is not prioritized and convenience is, it's kind of like, and I know you guys don't mean this, so families that are watching this channel, don't take this the wrong way, but subtly you kind of putting your own needs ahead of your mom or dad's needs. If you're putting your mom or dad's needs first, then it's going to be the care. If you're thinking more about convenience and dad likes snacks, I want to bring them some snacks. I like to stop in and see dad. I like to, stop in and maybe pop into the community, see how things are going. That's all great motivational factors for you as a son or daughter. However, if you put your dad or your mom's care needs first, then they're going to have a much better experience. But let's get to number 4, wrong fit culturally or socially. I've got some communities in my area, Brittney, that they are one particular culture, and they got certain things they do socially that your mom or dad may not be a good fit in. And so you want to find these things out. And so, I mean, how does this happen? Like, I know, like when you go through the tour, if you're not looking for certain things, you may not realize they're there. But I would think the cultural piece or the social piece would be there. Now, I get there's a number of communities that like to, again, putting their best foot forward, not bagging them, but they tend to run the 3-ring circus whenever there's a tour going on. So socially, it looks like everything's popping every day. It's Disneyland. However, when you're not on a tour, it's not Disneyland. And again, I know that because we used to do that kind of thing, I'd be like, man, I walk in and there's a lot of stuff going on. Must have some tours on the books today. And there was no tours, man. There's nothing going on in the house. But Brittney, how does this happen?
I think it's a little bit more rare, like you said, because I think it's more obvious, the cultural part of it or socially. But I can give you an example that I see is more of like when they're religious based. So I have a lot of families that are, they're faith-based, whether it be Catholic, a certain religion. And I have had families, because they have such good reputations, want their loved ones to go to, for example, a Catholic affiliated community, even though with warnings that it's going to be very Catholic affiliated, like their activities, instead of, you would think bingo, it might be rosary or things along those lines. So I have had families do that, even with even with the precautions, and it's not a good fit because their entire social activity calendar is revolved around that religion, which is totally a great fit for somebody that would be Catholic, but that's not, it's just not not a very good fit. So I think that's where I see it the most is religious.
Yeah, I got one of them in my area as well, and I got another community that is of the Asian persuasion. There's like literally 98% at least, maybe I wouldn't say 100, but it's pretty close. And I had this one guy reach out to me about his dad, and he was saying, "Hey, I'm down in LA. My dad's eventually be down here, but the other community, their sister community down here, has got a waiting list of about a year and a half. So I want to get him up there." He didn't want to tour anyone else. That's where he wanted to go. They had all kinds of their menus were like, all like Japanese food, which I love Japanese food, man. So I looked at that menu going, man, I'd like to live here. Shoot, this all looks great. And so, but he knew instinctively that's where dad would really thrive. Because, if you're around people that you don't normally usually hang out with, or you don't have an experience with in the past, it can be difficult at times. So how you stop essentially is match communities culturally. I mean, think about in terms of your mom and dad's past experience, things they like, some of their preferences, some of their religious backgrounds, or, some of the food they eat. That's kind of a big thing too. I know we don't hit too much like on food, but man, if they're getting a certain kind of food they don't normally eat, I mean, you might begin to wonder why mom or dad is losing their appetite. They're not eating as much. Well, it might not be because they've lost their appetite. They just don't want to eat the food that's being presented to them, right? I mean, that's like me in life. I rather just have my little protein coffee thing my wife made me or something like that. If you put something in front of me I don't like, well, seniors are the same way. So look for not only ethnicity, religion, language, and daily routines matter. So what is your mom or dad's daily routine? Number 5, ignoring future decline. Brittney, I see this a lot. And so it's not being able to look into the future. Now, nobody can play God. No one knows exactly what mom or dad may need 6 months, 12 months down the road. But I would think that the average person needs to discipline themselves a little bit more and think in terms of along those lines. Don't think in terms of just moving mom or dad in today. I mean, and that will cause you to evaluate the community. Are they really set up to accommodate mom or dad 6, 12 months down the road? What's your thoughts on that, Brittney?
Super important. A double move on a senior is not pleasant for the senior, especially, or the children. So sometimes this comes with denial of a family where they're not really, again, sure, just uneducated on their needs and the future needs. But if they're borderline, I think I see this a lot. If somebody's maybe borderline independent living or assisted or memory care, and they choose a community that's not able to progress with their needs, it's alarming, again, kind of going back a little bit to the sales pitch, those marketing directors don't, in my experience, do not look at future decline as a selling point to families. Unless they
don't. No, and to your point and what they experience, they're looking at their monthly quota. And I don't mean that to belittle what they do. That's what we used to do. I mean, if the quota, the monthly sales quota was 7 move-ins and they're at 5, and here we are the 4th day of June, that'd be a fantastic month. So they're not really from that point on trying to gain new move-ins aggressively. However, if you get to the end of the month and they're missing 2 or 3 away from their quota, man, they're just looking to get that move in, and they might be missing some things. So they just might be a little short-sighted, things like that. So really how to stop it is place with future care in mind, communities that scale with the seniors. So what really would make CCRCs, continuing care retirement communities, so important, and people that like it, I know is a big expense on the front end, but that's really one of their selling points, is they do scale with the senior. If you go to an AL community, you have memory care. Who knows? Mom or dad might need memory care, have some cognitive decline later on. So if that happens, you can grow and scale with the senior. If you're an independent community, I think that's fine, because you just don't know at that point what's going to happen, and maybe nothing will happen. I've met, and I know you have too, Brittney, a number of seniors that are in their 90s, possibly 100s, and they're still independent. God bless them. I don't know how that happens, but it just happens sometimes. But it's important if you're going to do this major move, because moving seniors is so much more dramatic and traumatic than it is with people like you and I. I know you moved recently. I've moved in the last year. It's just a pain in the butt, but it's more than just a pain in the butt for seniors, man. It really does something to them. So you don't want to move mom or dad into a community that in a short period of time, 3-6 months down the road, they got to move again because the community is not able to scale with them. Number 6.
Sorry, Matt, can I say one thing about that really quick?
Yeah.
To go deeper, especially as a placement agent and or a family, if you're looking beyond just assisted living, memory care, beyond those words, it is very good to chat with communities on what their nurse and their protocols are. Because in my experience in both of my states, they might say assisted living, have the same exact license, but they operate differently. So I have had families that have to move from an assisted living, same license as their one down the street, but they just don't do as much care. So even deeper than the words, what is their max level of care they can provide?
Absolutely. Guys, we're talking about the 10 shocking mistakes that put seniors in the wrong community. So number 6, again, stay with us because number 10 is going to break your heart. But number 6, no clarity on financial reality. Man, I see this quite a bit, and I know you do too, Brittany. And let's say they're moving in to keep the math simple to a community. It's $5,000, and that's rent and care, everything included. But that's every dime the senior has, and they don't understand what's going on next and down the road in terms of price increases and things of that sort. So what's your thoughts, Brittany, on just having some clarity on some financial reality of your situation?
Yeah, it's important. To your point, if it's close monthly, let's say they have a lump sum of money, but a very low monthly income, and they're pulling from that lump sum to make it work. There's no way around it. Assisted living, memory care, all of it's expensive. So there's really no way around that part. It's really important because like we were chatting about, that could really make a second move for a senior. And that second move might not be a move that is going to be very preferred by the family or the senior. It's also really important that the family and or placement agent knows like the programs in their state. If they do run out of funds, what is available for them? The last thing you want is a family to move in somewhere and they only have 18 months and they come to you and there's no options beyond that 18 months. So I see this a lot. I see families that really think they can pull it off and they think 18 months will be enough, things along those lines, and it's just not. So this is really important. Also in my states, the communities do not do a very in-depth financial check. So it really is up to the family and the placement agent. That was one thing that was shocking to me when I started my business. There's no credit checks. There's no background checks. There's really not a lot of, verification that they can afford the communities.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've never heard of that either. Any background checks, any credit checks, anything like that. And, we're not after keeping seniors, preventing them from moving in. However, there is a quality of life and you don't want any false belief and hope and someone move in for 6 months and they have to move. So really how you stop it is you got to review your financial projections, talk long-term affordability, VA benefits, any kind of other benefits. There's not a whole lot out there, you guys. We talk about senior programs. There's not a whole lot. There needs to be exit plans. What's going to be the exit plan? I mean, especially if you're on a tight budget and your budget's running out. Let's say mom or dad has some retirement funds and this is the pot of gold they're working on, the amount of money, and it's just steadily shrinking. You really come up with an exit plan. You don't want to be in a situation at the very end and mom or dad runs out of money. I just had a situation just last week before, where a guy was paying about $4,000. I know it's kind of low, but he got into it, about $4,000 for assisted living, and now his money's running out, and he only gets around $1,200 SSI. And so now they're contacting me where he can move. Now, I didn't move him somewhere at $4,000, someone else did, but obviously they didn't figure out an exit plan at that moment, in that juncture. They just now are in a moment of crisis, right? Now they're at a moment of panic. Now they're texting me. I'm talking to them. I'm explaining the reality, and they really want to move. In this case, this lady's reached out to me. Her brother into a beautiful assisted living or anywhere for $1,200 a month, and it's just not going to happen, you guys. I don't know how you can. I mean, the apartments that are around here, much less assisted living, go for more than $1,200. So they're in a pickle now, and I feel for them. However, we needed to, at the beginning, that senior placement agent, whoever moved them or the family themselves, need to go over an exit plan and say, okay, dad's got, or my brother has X number of months, maybe a couple of years to live here with this going rate, but knowing that the retirement fund is shrinking. So now we're at this place of crisis, and they're hoping and praying they get somewhere for $1,200 a month. I don't know anywhere it's $1,200 a month. I'm very honest with them. But the point is, have that exit plan. Number 7, no vetting of the staff or ownership. You really want to get to know these individuals as best you can. Now, it doesn't mean you go and interview them per se, but it's anything dealing with your life. You want to get to know the person. I'll give you a real life example of me personally. I had thyroid cancer back in 2010. And then a series of events, the physical and all that stuff. Anyway, get all the way down to the ENT, and the ENT shows up in the office and he goes, okay, Dr. Shin, he's a fantastic individual. Love the guy. Would recommend anybody. Supposedly one of the best. I think he is. However, what he did was he came in the office, said, okay, Mr. Stafford, we got surgery next week, Friday, blah, blah, blah. This is what's going to go on. I went, whoa, hold up. He goes, what do you mean? I said, you're about to open me up, right? He goes, and to him it was a simple procedure. And it is, I mean, when it comes to cancer, it's kind of a scary thing, but skin cancer is the easiest one. And then thyroid cancer is the second easiest. However, I was like, hey, you're about to put me down, put me under, cut me open. I think it's good for you to have a seat and for me to get to know you a little bit. And so I had about 4 or 5 questions. He sat down, I asked him. And again, it's a totally different situation, but that is like getting to know them. You can do that and vet the staff and or ownership that's there. And you might not meet the owners, you might not meet the investors, obviously, and management group. The regional may be there, may not be there, but at least the staff, get to know them a little bit. And so, Brittney, what do you think of some, just off the cuff, off the top of your head, what are some decent questions someone could ask, maybe the staff, to kind of get to know them?
Yeah, I would just say, like, how long have they been there for? That's a good question. Also, ownership too in a care home. How long have you owned your care home? With larger communities, I do think management companies are important. If you have one that's changed names every 2 years, that's a red flag. So finding out how long have they been the community that they've been. In large communities, how long has the executive director been there? Because that's huge. If they say anything over 2 years, that's a really, really good sign. So just things like that. I also think that here's like a different way to vet them without asking questions. When you're touring, look at how their demeanor is. Look how the entire place is ran, from the front desk all the way down to the caregivers. This is a really good way to see how, if people are happy and the place is running smoothly. Not saying people can't put on the show, but usually it's pretty genuine if you see the caregivers being very happy and things. So I think longevity in this industry is very rare, and that is a very good sign. So I think longevity, like the nurses, the director of nursing, the executive directors, the care homeowners, seeing that longevity means that it's usually probably a pretty good place. Otherwise, usually people jump. So you'll see that.
Yeah, I agree. Here's a pro tip on your tour. If the marketing director, or whomever, usually it's the marketing director, if they spend more time wanting to get to know your mom or dad's care needs versus showcasing the community, it's a great sign. If they spend more time selling the community than they do getting to know your mom or dad, it's a red flag. Now, it doesn't mean when they're getting to know you, because they're all trained to let me hear your story. I get that. But if you can kind of hear somebody if they're being genuine or not, right? Again, going back to the body language, and at least that one person is empathetic. At least that one person is more caring about mom or dad's needs versus selling the community. And so what they do is a seasoned marketing director, a person that's really moving with empathy, they get to know mom or dad's care needs, and they let you experience the community as you walk through, right? That becomes an experience. But if they're just constantly trying to sell, and to our point earlier, it's like the last room, this is the last opportunity, you got to put a deposit down today, you're going to lose it. If it's more on the sales end of it, I'd take a step back real quick. Doesn't mean it's not going to be a good fit for mom or dad, but I would definitely take a step back and probably would do a little more vetting of that community. And how you can stop this is research state inspection reports, right? It's very easy in California. I know some states it's not as easy, but in California it's real easy with social services. Go in there and look at the state reviews. If you can't do that, at least look at the Google reviews. And I don't think that's carries a whole lot of weight, but then again, it can. But at least look at that. And to what Brittney said earlier about the staff turnover. I mean, is there a lot of staff turnover? And how would you find that out? Let's dialogue a little bit, Brittney. So you're walking into a community, right? How would you find out there's a whole lot of staff turnover? I'm putting you on the spot. I've got a thought on this, but let me hear your thoughts first.
You're stumping me.
Because it's hard, isn't it? I mean, they're not going to be that hard.
Without asking how long they've been there. That's the hard part. I want to hear your take on it.
Here's my take. So all your good answers come from good questions, or great answers come from great questions. So it comes from a question. So instead of asking, let's say Mary Jo is the marketing director, she's giving you a tour. So instead of saying, Mary Jo, how many marketing directors have you had in the past and all that kind of stuff, what you want to do, she's being personal about you, or at least your mom or dad, hopefully. You want to reciprocate and be personal to her and say, Mary Jo, I really appreciate all you're doing for us. You just sound like such an empathetic individual. I mean, obviously, you've been working here for a long time. That's going to draw it out. You're not asking her how long. You're just like, it's obvious you've been working here for a long time. You love this place. Oh, yeah, I just love this place, and she might end up telling you, oh, yeah, I just started last week, or I started 6 months ago. Or she might go into, absolutely, you can look at our staff. All of us have been here 10 plus years. They're going to tell you now, if they mention something like that, like they have a lot of staff members that have been there 5 plus years, 10 plus years, that is the absolute truth. They're not going to exaggerate that. If they're going to exaggerate, they might say, we've had the same staff all along the last couple of years we've been together, or something like that. So if they go 5, 10 years, it's real, 1 or 2, 3, possibly. But I would just ask her questions personally about her opinions of things. And you'll begin to understand. Now, if she doesn't know everything, that's okay. She might be new. And that's a sign, too, that she's new. Doesn't mean that's a bad thing. But what happened to the other person? Maybe they just moved on, or maybe they became the executive director. Maybe they, went out and got a different career, whatever it is. But you want to just ask really, really good questions. And the better your questions, the better the answers. Number 8, rush decisions after a hospital discharge. Gosh, Brittney, I get this all the time. Not so much with hospitals. I get hospital leads, but I get a lot of rushed discharges with SNFs. And I do not regret helping families, or it's not a problem for me. I just feel for the families, man. It's just like they got a 24 to 72 hour window to get this done. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I do a lot of hospital discharges, so this is huge. I usually have anywhere from 12 to max 48 hours to place somebody. And it's tough. I mean, it does also, I'll be honest, it limits the places they can go because there might not be an availability, or it really limits how fast do communities move for admission. There's a lot of limitations here. Yeah, it can be a problem. I think like going through this process, I always say I'm not a double move person, but if it's this much rushed and we know it's not maybe the exact right fit, I'm pretty transparent with families. We could do a month here and we can move them to the other place that maybe was on a wait list. I know it's not ideal. I feel for them, but just being an advocate for seniors, I'm not big on this, but we can even do a respite stay somewhere. So there's just other options to look at. But if you didn't know this, if you're not working with a senior living placement agency and you just pick the first one available, that's what I see. The first one that the hospital or the skill can get to accept, and the first one available, they go. So I think there's ways around this. Again, not a double move placement agent, but if we can do a respite stay, another option would be like taking them home with 24-hour care until that place opens. There's a lot of different options, but if families don't work with somebody educated, that hospital and that skilled is going to send them to the first place that accepts and the first place that has a room available.
Absolutely. And that leads me to number 9, Brittney, and not number 9 and 10. Stay with me because these are very important. But number 9, they trust a biased source. That biased source could be a lot of different people, could actually be social workers, could be a senior placement agent like us. It could be the person down the street, had a really good experience with their dad 10 years ago, but the community's way different today. But trust a biased source. And how you stop that is work with independent senior placement agents who prioritize the senior's well-being, or anyone that you see that prioritizes the senior's well-being. Again, going back to the sales approach, or the more empathetic approach, right? So you don't want somebody just trying to sell you, or somebody just presenting one community to you and that's it. Now, no cut against other senior placement agents or social workers or anybody else does this professionally. They're on their time deal, right? They have a lot of people they might be dealing with, especially social workers. So they might not be trying to be a biased source in this, but they sometimes are because they know one or two places. They're not really paid to understand the market. They're paid to work in the community, take care of the residents' needs, the whole deal of working through the process and discharge. And there's a lot, depending on how big the community is, how much pressure is on that social worker. So that it might not be meaning to be a bias source, but you want to be careful that you're not working with somebody that is a bias source. Senior placement agent, I'll put this upon us. Sometimes senior placement agents have a negative feeling, connotation to them, meaning like they only direct seniors to 2 or 3 different communities. The word direct is terrible. You shouldn't direct, you should lead and should encourage or offer some advice, not direct. But 2 or 3 communities because maybe they get paid more there, or because maybe they got a better relationship with them, or they might only know 5 communities, right? If they're brand new in the community or brand new in the business. So how you stop it is work with an independent agent that has experience, that knows their market, right? And then Brittney hit the last one. I mean, I think sometimes seniors are just not given a voice. And I know this is not possible for every situation, every senior, but when it is applicable, I think it's so vital, it's so important. What do you think?
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, they're, like you said, it's not possible sometimes, or the best interest of the senior for them to have a voice in certain circumstances. But I think families, I just had a situation like this happen. And the senior was given a voice, but it was actually not the correct. Sorry, one second. Should shut up. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, my phone's ringing. So I just think that the seniors, if they don't give a voice, they don't get what they prefer. And sometimes families overlook certain things, and they are more shopping for them than their loved one. I see it all the time. They're looking for the big, bright, beautiful community that they're attracted to, not what mom would enjoy. Very common, and it's very sad because a lot of times these seniors are not happy where they're placed because their family did not let them express how they feel about it. I also see that families sometimes make the decision when they have a capable senior loved one to go on tours to make that call, and they just kind of override the senior. So that's really unfortunate.
Yeah. How to stop it? Involve the senior early on in the process. Again, when applicable, let them tour if possible. At least ask what home means to them, right? The reason I started Brittney doing virtual tours back in 2019 before COVID, because I saw a lot of seniors that I was dealing with in skilled nursing facilities that didn't have a clue where they were going. And nobody was really asking their opinion. It's just, Bill, you're here. You've gone through rehab. Now it's time to go to assisted living. Matt's going to help you. The social worker gives you a brochure. This is where you're going to move. It's a great place. And then they're not even given any thought or consideration as to what their preferences, needs, or anything else, what they want, right? So that's what home means to them. And again, going back to some of the previous things that we talked about on this, how we're dealing with, because this is all talking about, seniors being put in the wrong community. And this should upset you, but it should also bring hopefully some clarity to you out there as a family member. If you're looking for mom or dad to be in assisted living or memory care community, you would do these 10 things. So rewind the video, go back and watch it, take notes, write things down if you haven't. If you want to know more about this business and what we do, click the links down below, schedule a consultation call with me, buy a $30 3-day workshop, get a free webinar, whatever you want to do down below. But we're here to help you. We want to see this industry to continue to explode, continue to grow, because this industry continues to grow, right? Brittney, it blows me away. By 2030, all the baby boomers will be 65, right? The trajectory of this business continues, this industry at large continues to increase. And so we need to be there and be there for seniors first and foremost. So don't have a shocking mistake that allows your loved one to be put in the wrong community. Do your homework, do these 10 things. Again, rewind the video, watch it again, take notes, and have clarity when you go into the situation. Senior placement agents should know this. And if you don't, you rewind the thing and watch it and do it yourself. Okay. All right. Until next time, we really love and appreciate you. God bless.